my children! We checked in on our delightful and underappreciated mummy a week ago. So how about we see how the werewolf by night is faring? Jack Russell awakens yet again from the nightmares of his werewolf existence. However, it was not the bad dreams that brought him back to the land of the living, but rather a noise from outside. He catches a man snooping around outside his house and discovers someone named Buck Cohen. He's a reporter and claims he was just doing some research on a piece about renewed interest in the occult. Peh, I was into the forces of darkness before it was cool. Cowan learned about the Darkhold, the magical book that Jack's family had, as well as the family castle, which has now been sold off by Jack's stepfather. Ah, but what a coincidence! It seems the man who bought the castle, named Blackgar, had the castle disassembled brick by brick and shipped to an island nearby. That seems like a weirder coincidence than the guy who transforms into a dog being named Jack Russell. Jack makes a deal with Cowan to give him a story if he'll help him get to the island. While Cowan distracts his stepfather, Jack steals his boat and heads out, hoping that he'll find the Darkhold at the reassembled castle. He soon gets caught in a storm and is knocked out, but he is rescued by a gruff individual named Garth, who scuttles the remains of the yacht before taking him to the island. There he meets Blackgar and his daughter, Marlene, as well as an individual with a scarred face who comes running and screaming, begging not to be changed. Blackgar claims that he runs an institution of sorts at the island, and he is taken back to the castle. Marlene clearly does not want to help her father in whatever it is he's doing, but is compelled to help him. Jack explains about the Darkhold, and she confirms that it is there and where to find it. Blackgar takes her away to handle an operation and locks the door to Jack's room. He soon escapes and proceeds down to the castle's basement, where indeed an operation is being performed on a person, surging with electricity. Though whatever has been done to him is apparently horrific, especially as the narration mentions that this being no longer has a mouth. Jack finds the Darkhold, but he picked the worst possible night to do all this, for the full moon rises and he becomes the werewolf. He wrecks up Blackgar's laboratory and is forced by Garth into a room with all of Blackgar's monstrous experiments. Bloodshot eyes, misshapen forms, unable to speak thanks to the foul chemicals and surgeries forced upon them. Although personally, I think these things are gorgeous enough to have modeling careers. You know, just as pretty as me. Sympathizing with the wretches, the werewolf lets them out and allows them to take their revenge upon Garth. Jack flees, Marlene leading him up the castle, and not really caring about his new form. Jack is brought to Blackgar, where he fights with him until he forces the mad scientist out the window. Marlene explains that she would have been the next experiment, so it was only right to let Jack take care of him. She tries to take the wolf's hand out of sympathy, but in his bestial state, he lashes out at her and knocks off her glasses. And it seems the reason for the experiment was that he was trying to cure a condition that Marlene had, wherein any who she gazed upon turned to stone. And thus is the fate of Jack Russell for the end of this story, locked in place by the gaze of a Gorgon. Is this the end of the werewolf by night? No, of course not, my children. But it is where we'll leave off for him this year.
It's an old family recipe. What do you think?